Moving on, our next topic is 5 ways to boost labour productivity in your plumbing business. So I have the CEO of PROTRADE United, John Mailer, is joining me. John has over 20 years of experience helping business owners and their teams achieve peak performance in both business and life. Now, John is a master of simplifying complex issues and providing strategies that can transform your business. And he is a person, he's not a robot. Would you please welcome John? Big round of applause.
Thanks, Lee. Aaron, thanks for the lead into the Industrial Revolution. Yeah, lovely. You know, it's interesting when you have a look at, I might just lower that down a little bit there. Look at the 18th and the 19th and definitely the 20th century, how the transition of this word productivity has gone from being human beings on this planet doing the work to then factories and production lines and human beings running those production lines to improve the ability to get more done, maybe in less time, or maybe it's just get more done full stop. And that's really led us into this industrial age, right into the early 2000s, whereby to improve your ability to get more done, particularly if you're a human being, you either had to work longer hours or get more skilled. So in my past life, I used to be a sheep shearer for about 5 years, and the only way that I could improve my ability to get more done was to work either longer hours or improve my skills and abilities. And then I had a physical capability that I needed to work with. But as we moved into the 2000s, what we started to see, particularly in manual type work, was there tended to become a badge of honour with doing more hours. Yeah, it became the identity. You know, you catch up with a business owner at the end of the week or the weekend and how's it been? Oh mate, flat out, I'm busy. Running around like a headless chook, just got so much going on. And it's almost like if you met someone and you asked that question and then they said, listen, life's pretty cruisy actually at the moment. You know, I've got plenty happening, but the team are really productive. I picked the kids up from school, played some golf halfway through the week. It's like no one would want to talk to you because we're not all aligned with this busyness. And what used to happen is when there was a problem that showed up, let's just hire someone else. Let's just throw some labour at the challenge. And more people became the answer. And that saying you were busy became a badge of honour. But I really believe what happens is when people become busy, they become lazy. And when business owners become lazy, they become broke. So this word busy and productivity started to cross lines. And so my question for you as we lead into this session today, what does the word productivity mean? Like I got asked to chat today around productivity and I thought, listen, I can jump up there and I can rattle off 50 ways to improve productivity. But really, what does it mean in your world? Because that's the gig. What does it mean in your world? What matters most to you? And for me, when I think about productivity, whether it's in my personal life or in my business, it's how can I get more of what matters most completed? Not just get more stuff done, if that makes sense. And so when we have a look at this word busyness, it's a form of laziness because it means lazy thinking, indiscriminate action, reactive versus proactive, and it's used to cover up making those courageous decisions that are often required when you tell the whole truth to yourself. So for example, you've got an employee on your team who you know is not the right fit. They don't fit the culture. There's multiple errors on site. They're bad-mouthing each other and the company, but you don't do anything about it. And you use the excuse, I'm just busy, mate. Just don't have time to deal with that sort of stuff. Or you haven't put your prices up in 6 months. You know the cost to run your business are going up month by month. I'm just too busy to sit down and have a look at it. No, you're just not prepared to tell the whole truth and then make some courageous choices. Does that make sense? So my support for you is, from this point on, never say that you're busy. Yeah? Don't use busy as an excuse to not make the most important decisions, not just in your business, but also in your personal life as well. Because then we moved from the industrial age into the information age, and from the early 2000s, we then had access to more information through the internet. Now, you pick up your telephone today and you have more access to more information in 20 seconds than our grandparents did in a lifetime. You know, the lifetime of information was the Encyclopedia Britannica. Anybody sort of my vintage that used to have one of those at home, and that was the gold standard. Now it's, let's just pick up the phone, let's pick up the internet and Google. But what came with the information age is this information paradox, where we have an abundance of information, but we're more confused than ever. What do I do? Which choice do I make? You know, I've got Google giving me 3 million answers. Which one of those should I take on in? And so we live in this world of information overwhelm, so we're not making any choices at all. We're connected socially more than ever, but we're disconnected emotionally. You know, we have more connections through LinkedIn and our socials, but really do we connect emotionally, and most importantly, connect with ourselves? We're the wealthiest in history, yet the unhappiest ever. Prescription medication for depression and anxiety is through the roof. And what I'm really seeing in all of this, and I'll get to our business in a minute, is that we're relying more on external information to guide us than actually just stopping and telling and checking in with this. Does that make sense? The ability to sit down with ourselves for 5 minutes and ask the questions versus, well, I'm sure I can find the answer outside. I tell you what, 9 times out of 10, the answer you already know. Maybe you're not just prepared to trust that as well. So from there, what I'm seeing is that, particularly with the clients that we start working with in the industry and overall, that there's a confliction of business models which dilutes profitability. And I'll give you an example, and there's nothing wrong, right, good or bad about this. But if you're doing a mixture of construction and a mixture of service and maintenance work, you've got 2 different business models. It's diluting your profitability. And often that's how we start our businesses. We just say yes to everything. Yeah, I'll take that on and I'll work it out later. And you've done really well. But it's now got to the point where you've got to make a choice. If you really want to become effective, productive, more profitable, and enjoy your business more, you've got to stop saying yes to everything. Because that's coming from a place of scarcity and a place of fear. Incentives are messed up. And I'll give you an example. I was chatting to a business owner the other day. He said, listen, I'm wanting to help my team become more productive, and I'm thinking about introducing some incentives. And we ran through what he was wanting to incentivise them for. Effectively, he's wanting to incentivise them to show up on time, follow their position description, and do what they're getting paid to do anyway, but just paying them some more. I said, that is messed up. If you're paying people more than what's expected of them just for showing up, then we've got to reevaluate something within your business as well. And what we're seeing, and you guys tell me, we're losing more people, not the other way around. We don't have an abundance of people signing up to work in the plumbing and gas fitting industry. We're having to convince people that it's a great place to come and work. And it's not just in this industry, it's in lots of other blue-collar industries as well. And then as Aaron was talking about, and Aaron's working with a number of our clients around improving effective efficiencies, what I really see is AI, whether it's information, productivity, is about how do I help our best people do their best work so that they show up with a career that they're excited about and want to stay in, versus giving them aspects that they don't enjoy doing. They're not very good at anyway, but it's just part and parcel of how we run our business. So, as we transition through that journey from industrial information now into the intellectual age, and we've got a variety of tools that you can be using to help your best people do the best work. Let me ask you this question. Think about your team, and I know you've got some team players in the room here. What do you think your employees want from working with you? What is it that you think they're looking for? Because often what a business owner thinks their team players are looking for is completely different to what their team are actually looking for. So when researched, we came back with this is what business owners think their employees want. Number one, high wage. Secondly, job security. Third, promotion in the company. Fourth, good working conditions. And five, some interesting work. That's what business owners think. You know what the reality is? Number one, full appreciation of the work being done. Yeah? I just want to have someone acknowledge me for doing the work that I'm doing. Yes, I know I'm getting paid for it, but giving me some guidance and support. The feeling of being in on things, not just a mushroom and feet in the dark, but hey, where's the company going? What are we up for this year? What are our goals? What's the direction? How can I be part of that? Help with personal goals. What's happening in their personal lives? When was the last time you sat down with your team and just checked in and said, hey, listen, let's just not talk about work for the next half an hour. What's going on at home? How are the kids? What grades are they in? Do you even know your kids' names? The names of your employees' kids. What are their goals? Do they want to buy a home? Do they want to renovate? Do they want to go on a trip? If you don't check in and understand that, we're missing the opportunity to build a real human connection and a human workforce. Job security and progress, and guess what? Number five. Number five is a high wage. Money is important, but it's never the most important when it comes to it. And so if you think that if you want to get better productivity and better people in your organisation, and the answer is to pay them more, okay, I'm going to say that's the lazy way of looking at things. So you can keep working like the majority of people and do what everybody else has done, or you can take a different path. And that's my invitation to you today, is to take a different path and to create a place and an environment where you're not having to convince people to show up on a Monday. You've got a place where people are willingly showing up and wanting to engage and deliver their best work. And because when you've got that type of environment, you know what? Productivity just takes care of itself. And yes, we'll talk about what you can measure, but let's start at the foundations first, yeah? And it's a combination of a bit of art, a bit of science, and when you're working with people, it's always a bit of psychology. No one told you that, did they, when you started a business? You know, you've got to become a psychologist, run a childcare centre, develop some counselling skills, yeah? And then, by the way, run the business as well. So, we've created at PROTRADE United what we call a culture code. And this is what we work with our clients on to start at the foundation, because the culture always leads the commercial, not the other way around. The financials and the profitability will take care of itself once you've got an amazing culture in place. And it's not something that we're taught along the way. How many business owners in the room here, when they did their trade, also got told how to create a great culture in the workplace? Often we create it by experiencing what doesn't work. Who can think back to when you were, employed to some of those environments where you go, my goodness, this is not a great place to work. We can learn from what doesn't work. So when you want to create a great culture, firstly, you've got to own it all. No whinging, no moaning, complaining about your team or employees unless you're prepared to take some action and do something about it. A business owner was whinging about some employees the other day and I said, well, who hired them? Interesting, yeah. And if someone keeps whinging about the same people, I said, well, what are you doing about it? Own it all. Because unless you're prepared to own it all, you can't change anything and you'll be permanently a victim to your circumstances. Quality profit and profits are always a byproduct. Your environment, and this is a key, either creates a collaborative improvement or individual or separate position protection. Who knows what I mean by that? Where people just do what's required to look after their little space, because if I look after my little space, I'm going to be okay. I don't care if anybody else is winning or losing, but I'll just look after me and I'll abdicate supporting anybody else. Or you create an environment where people show up and go, how are we going to win this week? It's like a football team. How are we going to show up to win versus how am I going to just play the best and look after myself? And trust. Here's the thing, trust is the number one requirement for creating what we call a safe and winning culture. Now, safe has got an asterisk there, and what I mean by safe is emotionally safe. Not physically safe, emotionally safe, where people can show up and they can be a human being. They can make mistakes, they can stuff up, but they can be supported. Yeah. They can be allowed to be who they are. And the only way you can create that safe space is as a business owner, as a business leader, be the example. You've got to show up and you've got to be open, you've got to be vulnerable, you've got to be authentic. You've got to be a real human, not pretend you've got your shit together all the time. Because let's face it, that's never the truth. It's okay to make mistakes as a business owner, but own it, explain it, clean it up. And you continue to work on that and you'll transform a workplace where they feel safe to show up and do their best work as well. So let's have a look at this culture code, yeah? 5 steps. The first one, creation. Now, what I see traditionally with a lot of business owners when we start working with them is that their business is running their life. It's not the other way around. And it's been created by default, not by design. So the number one thing, if you want to create a great workplace culture, is to ensure that your business is supporting you personally and your family. Because the number of business owners who wake up anxiety, cranky, didn't sleep, thinking about all the challenges they've got is going through the roof. They go into workplace angry, annoyed, frustrated. How do you think that works in creating a great workplace culture? It doesn't. And the reason I know that because that was me. I used to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning vomiting in the toilet from anxiety about not knowing how to handle some challenges in the workplace. I had to deal with myself in the car park at work, in the car for half an hour before I could walk in the office. It's no way to create a great culture because even though I can put a smile on my dial, people know, don't they? People know something's not right. So unless you have got the business supporting your personal goals and direction, whatever that is, you're never going to have a workplace culture that is going to thrive because you can't fake it for too long. So work out how you want the business to support you personally. Then what we want to be able to do is have a direction of the business. Where's the business going? And here's the thing, don't compare to what other people are doing. It's your business. Never compare someone else's chapter 30 with your chapter 13. Create it to serve you. Yeah? And then we'll talk about what that is in a minute. Then you need to connect and communicate what that is with the team. Your team want to know where your business is going. And it doesn't have to be some global domination. It can be, this is the quality of the work we're going to deliver. These are the clients we're going to have. This is the number of people on the team. This is the culture we're out to create. It doesn't have to be huge. But notoriously in the blue collar industry, communication is where the gap shows up. We then want to have time to reflect. As a business leader, one of the most important, practices that you can integrate into your life is the ability to stop and reflect personally and also as a leadership team and ask the questions, are we on track or off track? Is the direction we took and the journey we've had in the last week, the month, the quarter, is it helping us get towards our goals or is it taking us further away? Okay, what are our numbers? What are our targets? What are the things we are measuring? Yes, they're important, but the ability then to adapt and then correct and get back on track, yeah? So that's the foundation, and I could spend a whole day dialing into all of those, but let's have a look at some of them individually. Where are you going? This is your direction. The 2 most important aspects of creating a beautiful culture is having a direction or a vision. I don't like to use the word vision, think about the strategic planning, vision, mission, purpose, intention. Just where are you going? How about that? What's the direction this year? And it's not a destination because the destination can be changing. And secondly, how are we going to play the game? How are we going to show up and win? What are our non-negotiable guardrails guiding our decisions? AFL kicked off last night, and one of the things that reminded me of was 25 years ago when Lee Matthews took over the Brisbane Lions, bottom of the ladder dwellers. A friend of mine was the conditioning trainer for the Lions, and he called me up after Lee Matthews' very first conversation with the team. And it was short and sharp. He pulled everybody from the CEO to the massage therapist into the room. And he said, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to win premierships. And if you want to win some premierships, we've got to make some changes. We've got to change the rules and the way that your guys are showing up and playing, not on the field, but as a team. And he went through a list, boom, 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 boom. These are non-negotiable. This is my team now. If you want to win, this is the way we're going to play. And history shows that, it was pretty effective as well. Jump forward 25 years ago, the premiership coach of the Collingwood Magpies, Craig McRae, played under Lee Matthews 25 years ago. He took a lot of those principles to turn a so-called arrogant, entitled group of players playing for Collingwood Magpies and turn them into a coherent team that delivered some incredible outcomes and amazing results and won the premiership in 2 years. Okay, this is where it starts, yeah? Where are we going and how are we going to play together? We've got to create the game. Most people want to win. So what does winning look like? Who's heard of the term KPIs? Key Performance Indicators. My goodness, doesn't that make you feel sick when you hear that word? How about this? Let's just replace KPIs with what does winning look like? What does winning look like as a team? Now, you may have some financial goals as the business owner, but maybe it's what does that winning look like on the ground? You want to share the business model and numbers with your team. Now, this is an interesting conversation I have, but we strongly encourage that if your team do not know how your business makes money or lose money, they're making it up anyway. In the absence of explicit information, people make shit up. Yeah? I guarantee some of the business owners in the room here have employees who think you are absolutely loaded. Yeah, they go, what are you charging, 180 for an hour? My goodness, you're only paying me 45. Look how much money you're making. The reality is completely different. So my encouragement for you is, and we help our clients have these conversations and we've got a structure, but show them what happens is when you make $1,000, how much is materials, how much is direct labour? Yeah? What's gross profit actually mean? Then what are the overheads that you have to keep the business operating? And then maybe out of that $1,000, you might keep $100, but not necessarily is that in your bank account, is it? It's on paper. And if you want to continue to grow and evolve as a business, that money has to be reinvested. But what happens if the GP blows out? What happens if you waste a truckload of materials? What happens if labour blows out? All of that $100 GP or net profit gets lost. Where does that go? Where does that come from? Oh, your pocket? Do they know that? Okay. And that's just a brief overview, but help your team help you. Help everybody understand how their role works in their business, and team accountability blossoms. These are just some of the things that you can measure. We talk about lagging and leading, but if you want to talk about helping your team help you, then you could look at, well, how many active supply trips did you have last month? Does that cost your business? Yeah. Errors, callbacks, rework, on time, on budget completion, GP per van, capacity, scheduling errors, wastage. If you're not measuring these things in your business, you're never going to be able to improve productivity, profitability. Yeah? Then some leading things. How many training sessions are you running with your team? Are you holding weekly and monthly, maybe daily site meetings, just to ensure everyone's aligned and focused with what the goal is today? Maybe cost to complete meetings, scheduling reviews. How's the communication with other trades? How many hours have you lost in the last month due to poor communication with other trades on construction sites? Okay. These are the things. Take time to review, reflect and respond. How did you go versus what did you really want? Yeah. What worked, what was missing? Never blame the human. Look for a missing system. What system or procedure or checklist, if we had in place, or a bit of AI or a bit of intellectual support, if we had in place, could have made the difference in this situation? Only 4% of the time is it human error. 96% of the time it's because we have a missing system, process or checklist or lack of training and development. What feedback can you provide? How do your team know whether they're on track or off track? I know when I was growing up in my 20s, the way I knew I was on track is I didn't get a kick up the arse during the week. If that's still the workplace culture, I think there's a bit of work for you to do there as well. And what gets rewarded gets repeated. And last but not least, if you want to transition any aspect of your business, you can do so in 90 days. In 90 days or less, you can transform any aspect of your business. You can boost your culture. You can improve your cash flow. You can transform your finances. You can fill your pipeline with quality work. You can employ great people. But it takes focus. And we live in this world which is a sea of distraction. So my support for you, if you've got time to invest 30 minutes scrolling mindlessly through feeds every day, okay, you've got time to transform your productivity and culture within your business. It just takes the ability to say no. And as Steve Jobs said beautifully, sometimes you've got to say no to so many really good ideas so that you can be really great at the one thing that really matters most. Again, when I was growing up, Bruce Lee was the master. You know, he was the one who really set the intention for how you could dominate, if you want to use that word, or really stand out amongst everybody else. So you want to change the way you've been measuring winning. You want to immerse yourself and your team in this journey and not practice until you get it right. It's practice until you can't get it wrong. And we've been able to see clients that we're working with transform their gross profit, which is really the real income. Let's face it, top line revenue is just a vanity number. What are you keeping after you've paid all of those direct costs? That's the real number that counts. If you're prepared to go to work, this is an inside-out game. Okay? You're not going to hire miraculously great people who are going to transform your productivity. The first place you've got to go to work is where? It's called the mirror. Look in the mirror and say, am I prepared to change the way that I'm showing up? And if I'm prepared to change the way I'm showing up, I know I can change the way that my business is showing up and my team is showing up. And that can really transform the way your numbers are showing up as well. Hey, listen, we have a very simple labour productivity checklist that we have for our community. If you'd like a copy of that, we're quite happy to pass that out. It's always being refined as well. How we tie into our relationship with the particularly master plumbers and Penny and the team here in Queensland is we work with business owners across Australia and New Zealand in the trade and construction industry for 3 key reasons to help them stabilise and streamline, scale and step out or off the tools. One of the things we've developed is a structured, proven methodology. It's not a guesswork. It's not subjective. It's not up to anybody's, opinions. It's let's sit down together and we know exactly where you are on that journey. And we love to support as many business owners in that space. And that's our direction. That's our intention to ensure that we help you guys transform the way that you're showing up in your world as well. We have a couple of things just to wrap up. Number one, I've got a copy of my book that we'd love to give away. Underneath your seat, there is an envelope in 5 chairs. 5 chairs in the room have got an envelope. And if you've got one of those envelopes, we'd love to give you a copy of my book called Not Just a Tradie, which is time-tested principles to unlock your potential and create business freedom and flow. So Simon, let me know there are 5, yeah? And they're not on the chairs in the back row. Oh, you've got one there. So please, if you've got one, Simon's going to be around at the break. Yeah, hang on to it. Please go and see Simon. He's in the other lovely blue and white check shirt there. So we've got 5 copies there. Keep looking around if you haven't found one yet. The other thing is if you'd love to have a catch up with one of the team or win a $250 BCF voucher, which we're going to give away this morning, got a QR code there. See Simon. He's also got a little entry form there. We'd love to give that away. And if you'd love to have a chat with us about how we can support you in your business and if we can't point you in the right direction, please also tick the right box on the QR code as we've got there. So again, bringing back to a holistic completion from the industrial age right through to where we're at today. The external will never change unless you as the business owner gets clear about what matters most, what productivity means to you, and most importantly, go to work on the inside out and the rest will take care of itself. Thanks so much and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, John. And as we said, with questions, I mean, these guys are hanging around for morning tea as well. But if there are some questions through the app, we'll make sure you get those answers back. What were you doing before this? Like, what was your business when you were stressing?
It was a previous version of this. So I had a training organisation.
Ah, okay.
And yeah, we were going through some rapid growth and I didn't have the solutions.
Ah, now you do.
But I thought I needed to fix it all myself.
Ah, okay. Teamwork. Collaboration's the big word, isn't it?
You know.
Yeah, I know.
Thanks,
Fantastic.
Lee.
Another big
Beautiful.
round of applause. We just have something.